Okay, so let's talk about something really fascinating that can happen after a toxic relationship. It's this thing that goes way, way beyond just healing. We're talking about a powerful transformation that, honestly, a lot of people go through but don't even have a name for.
You know, for so long, the whole conversation around trauma has been about the damage, right? PTSD, anxiety, depression, all the ways that we can break. But what if that's only half the story? Researchers started asking a totally different and I think much more powerful question. What about the people who don't just bounce back, but who somehow become more than they were before?
And that's exactly what we're going to get into. That moment when just surviving evolves into something else entirely, a really powerful process called post-traumatic growth. But to really understand the growth, we have to start with the breakdown.
First up, we need to get real about what a toxic relationship physically does to your brain, because this is not just about hurt feelings. We are talking about pure biology here.
And listen, that is not a metaphor. Studies show that the constant, chronic stress from things like manipulation and emotional abuse, it spikes your cortisol, your main stress hormone, to levels that are almost identical to actual combat situations. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between an emotional threat and a physical one. So when you see a list like this, the anxiety, the terrible nights of sleep, the brain fog, it is so easy to think, what is wrong with me? But I want you to look at this and see something else. These aren't character flaws. They're not weaknesses. They are your brain's perfectly logical survival reactions. It's your body screaming at you, trying to keep you alive in a situation that it sees as life or death.
But then what happens? What happens when you finally get out of that environment? Well, this is where the whole story takes this incredible turn. It shifts from just trying to survive to something so much deeper.
This right here, this is the finding that changes everything. Research is showing that for roughly half to two-thirds of people who survive trauma, they don't just recover. They actually report real, positive psychological changes. They become something different, something more.
And it is so important to get the difference here. Resilience is amazing, right? It means bouncing back to who you were before. But post-traumatic growth, that's a whole different ballgame. That happens when you're so fundamentally shattered that you can't just bounce back. You have to rebuild yourself from the ground up. And what you build is often so much stronger than what was there before.
Now, this next idea, it might feel a little backwards, a little counterintuitive, but I promise you it is the absolute core of this entire process. It's this paradox that sits right at the heart of this kind of change.
So here's the paradox. The people who experience the most profound, life-altering growth are often the ones who got hit the hardest. The ones whose entire worldview, everything they thought they knew about love and trust and safety, was just completely dismantled. So if you feel like you're sitting in the wreckage of your life right now, you need to hear this. You might actually be in the most powerful position for change you'll ever be in.
And let's be crystal clear about something. This is not toxic positivity. This is not some everything happens for a reason nonsense. Your brain is incredible. It can hold two completely opposite truths at the same time. This experience destroyed me, and this experience changed me. You can have PTSD and post-traumatic growth in the same body at the same time. The pain is real, and so is the transformation.
Okay, so what does this growth actually look like, in the day-to-day? How does it show up? Well, researchers have found that it pretty consistently appears in 5 specific areas of a person's life.
I mean, look at this. This transformation touches every single part of who you are. All of a sudden, the little things in life feel huge and profound. You develop this, allergy to shallow, surface-level connections. You find this strength deep down that tells you, hey, if I survive that, I can survive anything. And your core values, they become crystal clear.
So this transformation, it's not passive. It doesn't just happen to you while you're sitting on the couch. It's actually driven by specific things, specific strategies that survivors develop, a lot of times out of just sheer necessity, to move forward.
These are not just nice ideas, okay? Research has identified these as the critical actions for getting out of that trauma loop and into growth. And that first one, it's everything. For a survivor, setting a boundary stops being some self-help suggestion and becomes a biological imperative. It's healthcare for your nervous system. This distinction right here is absolutely key. Intrusive rumination, that's when the past haunts you. The thoughts just pop in and you're stuck in a loop. But deliberate rumination, that's when you consciously decide to engage with the past. Not to relive it, but to understand it, to make some kind of meaning from it, and to learn from it. It's the shift from being a passenger in your own story to grabbing the steering wheel. All right, finally, let's talk about how to reframe those lingering effects of trauma. Because what feels like damage might actually be something else entirely, something incredibly valuable.
Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. That hypervigilance, that gut feeling you have, that ability to spot a red flag from a mile away, that is not a flaw. That's not you being broken. That is hard-won wisdom that your nervous system paid a very high price for. It is proof that your brain learned exactly what it needed to learn to keep you safe.
Yes, toxic relationships leave scars. Of course they do. But those scars don't have to be a source of shame. For so many survivors, they transform it to something else. They become a map. A map that shows you where you've been, and more importantly, a map that shows you all the places you refuse to go ever again.
The goal was never to be unbreakable. Nobody is. The real power is in the reconstruction. You get to choose how the pieces go back together. And those places where you were broken, once you repair them with your own hands, they often become the strongest parts of you.
And that's really the heart of it all. This isn't just a hopeful idea or some feel-good story. This is neuroscience. Your brain is literally capable of rewiring itself based on your experiences. You survived. You aren't just healing. You are actively transforming. So the only question left is, who will you choose to become?